Welcome back, friends and neighbors. It is week one, and we have your game plan for you. We have a bunch going on today. Dan and I are going to walk you through what our points to victory are for the Kansas City Chiefs in week one against the Cleveland Browns. We're going to go out to what Matt Derrick thinks. He's going to join us briefly. We're going to give you our predictions, and then you guys have felt this coming for a while, right? You've seen him, you've heard him, you've probably watched his videos. If you want to know X's and O's, the one guy to go to is Coach Vass, and he is here with us. You're going to see him as we end up the show. So I'm a little bit more than excited. Dan is too. We'll be here with you. Let's get into it. This is RGR Football. Well, Chiefs fans, now is the time to celebrate. It's the first NFL Sunday of the season, and it's about to kick off. And DraftKings, the official draft fantasy partner of the NFL, is putting you at the center of this weekend's action. New customers can get a free shot at $1 million top prize with their first deposit by signing up and using our code RGR21. Get into the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at $1 million payday. Download the DraftKings app now and use the code RGR21. This week, new customers get a free shot at the $1 million top prize and compete in millions of prizes across all kinds of different contests. Again, the entry code is RGR21. You get a free shot at $1 million prize on your first deposit. That's RGR21 only at DraftKings, the official draft partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit, eligible restrictions apply, and see DraftKings.com for more details. Now we get into bringing Dan back here. We're going to get into the details because it's been a long time coming, right?
Oh, man. It's here, guys. Like, this is the 2 days from now. The Chiefs are going to be playing. This offseason has felt unlike any offseason before. Like, we went through the draft process, and then after that, it felt like nothing happened. Like, literally, I don't know whether it was COVID or the layoff from COVID last year, probably more to do with COVID. This offseason has felt longer than it's ever been in my lifetime. So the fact that week one is just around the corner now, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am too, man. And it's about time that we can actually critique something rather than theorizing, which we've been doing all offseason as well. So let's get into it. We'll give 2 keys to victory from each of us. And this is what we would do if we were writing the game plan. We'll touch on what we think the Chiefs will actually do, but this is what we would do. So I'll let you start, Dan. Like, what's goal number 1 for you against the Cleveland Browns?
Goal number 1 is to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire one-on-one with a linebacker. I don't care how you do it. You find a way to do it. You have a young, inexperienced group of linebackers in Cleveland. You want to find ways to exploit that. They've talked a bit about how they're just going to do what they can to get ready, which is fine. I have no issues with JOK coming out and saying he's confident he's going to be ready for that. That's what you should say as a rookie. You're doing everything that you can to get ready for this week 1 matchup, even though you're going against Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Andy Reid in week 1. You have to be confident in your process. I got no issues with that. So people were like going after him. I know I helped the process along.
Oh, did you?
I did. But all I did was put like a thumbs up tweet to it. Like, I didn't imply anything. I just said thumbs up is all. But no, it's going to be a lot of fun. I want Clyde to get involved in the run game and in the passing game, because this game on both sides of the football for the Chiefs and the Browns, the trenches are the most important part. You have a brand new offensive line with the Chiefs. You got to see how that's going to work. And you have a defensive line that is probably one of the most underrated groups in the NFL with Jarran Reed now there. I think that's pretty considerable gain on their part. And they're going to find out week 1 what this is all about. Like, this is it. So for me, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is one of the keys for me, just because you can actually use him so many different ways. And if what Andy Reid has said is true about him getting the playbook now down underneath him and them using him more in the pass game, this is how you can really unlock this offense.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And honestly, Clyde said the same thing. And the comfort level with the playbook is important. I think that is going to be one of their points for sure. I will tell you, my number 1 goal is to give help to the right tackle. Now, it should be Lucas Niang. We've seen Lucas Niang all off season. Matt and I had a conversation the other day on Locked On about what if Andy throws a curveball and all of a sudden he just wants to be veteran savvy. It doesn't matter. The same thing is that the Cleveland Browns are going to attack the right-hand side. So I think there's got to be tight end help. The question is going to be which tight end. And I think probably it's got to be Bill. I think they've shown the faith in him to come in, and he doesn't have to block one-on-one. Lord knows he shouldn't block one-on-one with Garrett. If you guys missed my talk with Quincy Carrier earlier in the week, make sure you check that. It's on the channel here, and Quincy's great. He knows that team in and out, and he is definitely of the opinion that Clowney and Garrett together are going to be a problem. And I can't argue with that at all. So help the tackle out. Give him a tight end, whether it's just a chip and a roll or whatever, or whether it is a double team that engages. I think that's the number one thing to help Patrick get the ball out, be on his feet, and not get hit. And that's honestly probably what this should be all related to, is keeping Patrick upright and untouched, like Orlando likes to say. So we both went offense first. What else you got?
So it's going to be helping the linebackers. Without Willie Gay there, you have to now step up. Nick Bolton and Ben Neiman are going to have to step up. Anthony Hitchens now has to do a better job of lining everybody up, and that defensive front has to open the lanes for the linebackers. They have to do their job of setting the edge. That we know the outside zone is coming. It is coming. They're going to use it a lot, and they want Nick Chubb to get to those edges very quickly. So you have to be able to set the edge. You have to let linebackers flow and get downhill. Anthony Hitchens is going to be so important to the success of this defense on Sunday because he looks a bit faster. I think he's way more confident than he has been in the past. And this is a team that we talked about. They want to come out and run you over. That's what they want to do. And I think that they might throw some curveballs in to start. But I've talked to Matt Bowen specifically about this. They do not drop back. The passing offense is not a drop back situation to set up perfectly for them. I watched their offensive line last year. It's an incredible offensive line. But if they're in a setback and drop back in pass mode, they're very susceptible. You can win those matchups one-on-one, specifically, the right tackle. I think that's where you can attack some of the interior positions as well. They're not very good at pass blocking just straight up. Those play action passes, really what they set up for. That's what this offense is built around. Run the ball, play action pass. So if they come out and try to throw the ball around the house a little bit, that's not going to work out for them, specifically because you have Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Jaron Reed, you have Tershawn Wharton, anybody you can just throw at them and just really confuse them and get them off their hinges. So for me, Anthony Hitchens getting those rundowns stops early, forcing them to get maybe 2-3 yards instead of 7, 8, 9, which can happen if you don't keep those linebackers clean. It's critical to force them into those passing situations where your safeties and your front can get after the quarterback.
Yeah, I completely agree with you because I think they are going to do that. If they don't come out with like 3 straight Nick Chubb runs, I'll be shocked because that play action will come off of it. Yeah. And then what evolves from that is how do they attack if and when they're not getting enough out of that run game and the play action. So for me, you have to know where OBJ is. And I know that he hasn't had that great of chemistry with Baker to this point, right? And obviously he's coming off of injuries. But if there's anyone that's going to spark that passing game, it's going to be OBJ. Can they afford to move L'Jarius around? Probably not. I think what you're going to get is you're going to get him over on Ward in isolation because they're not going to move Ward around. So what do? You have to give him safety help. As we record this, we're not sure about Tyrann Mathieu. So we have to have some shaded safety over the top to make sure you corral that. I think that has to be Juan Thornhill myself. If they do opt to make kind of a switch and let Thornhill stay deep, let Dan play in the box, maybe that becomes Rashad Fenton because I think that'd be an interesting combo to physical up OBJ. And if you can just disrupt timing there, especially off the play action, I think that's the job number one. Allow the pass rush to get there, and you might have a chance to corral and not let them get fed, because I think if they get fed and they build some chemistry in that one game, you could probably see it evolve.
I agree. And you're wanting to keep that confidence low for a guy like OBJ, because if he gets that confidence, the skill to match is always been there. And once he gets his footing back and his confidence level back, that's when not only are you going to have to devote a safety to him, you're almost going to have to get Ward out of there and find ways to get L'Jarius Sneed on him to do what you can. Maybe, like you said, put a Rashad Fenton in there to help physical him up a little bit. You have to do something because You don't want OBJ to wreck this game because he can, and he definitely could. I don't see it yet. Obviously we haven't seen him play this season. We haven't seen him play it since, before. You haven't even seen him playing really well since before he was with the Browns. So
True.
he did have some games here and there, but that's, like you said, it's going to be important to stop them. The secondary is going to have their hands full with those play action passes. So like, it's even more important that the linebackers get on the same page, because we saw David Njoku, who was not really used in the season last year, come in that playoff game and just chunk them to death a couple different times. Like, it wasn't very good. So I think that just makes everything go for them. If they can get those play action passes going and OBJ gets confidence, look out.
David Njoku, contract year. Dan Sorensen, last legs. This is not a good combination. Although,
not really.
I do like Njoku as a free agent next year. We'll see what happens.
Well, I got 4 tight ends on the roster now.
Right? Well, hey, we can go 15 personnel. I can make that work. Folks, kidding aside, I want to get Matt Derrick's opinion. We're going to cut to him, and we'll be back. We'll get Matt. We'll come back with our predictions, and then we'll talk to Coach Vass. Hang in there just a second. Welcome back to RGR Football, folks. This is going to be a snippet as we get ready for this game against the Cleveland Browns. Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest is here. How are you, Matt?
Doing well, Ryan. I'm ready for football. Let's go.
I know it. We talked to you earlier in the week. I think we both have only tuned up since then, right?
Exactly.
It's one of those things. Covering this team in the offseason has been exhilarating at times. Obviously, news is still happening, and you never know what it's going to be. But it's also been like, hit the brakes and let's wait 2 weeks. Big keys to matchups for me are going to be obviously the rookies on the offensive line. Who's going to be the wide receiver? We talked about the tight ends earlier in the week on Locked On Chiefs. You guys go check that out too. But bigger picture, from what we know now, how do you feel like what are some of the goals that they have to have in order just to secure a win and move on from a team that they saw in the playoffs last year?
Well, one thing I think that this team not only wants to do, but needs to do offensively is just to show that they've got every weapon in the bag. I mean, this is the Chiefs. I mean, they're still going to rely on their concepts, which means that this could become a run-heavy game. It could become a pass-heavy game easily. But one of the things that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes certainly want to do this offseason, and Eric Bieniemy's talked about it as well, is just be more balanced and efficient in what they're doing. They don't necessarily – they will do what they need to that the opponent gives them. So, you look back at a game like Buffalo last year, I think the Ravens last year, where they ran the ball heavily because that's what it was in front of them. That's what was given to them. But there were a lot of times when they got away from the run and went pass heavy, and it wasn't necessarily in their best interest, but it kind of led that way. And that's one thing they want to get away from, is just passing for the sake of passing. I mean, they want to run the football, not necessarily more, but better. Okay. And that's what I think we need to see in week 1, is that they're able to run the football more efficiently than they did a year ago, that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a little bit more comfortable, that they're able to incorporate that, especially in some short yardage situations. I mean, if the Chiefs come into this game and aren't able to convert on 3rd and 1s and aren't able to convert on 1st and goal inside the 5s, those are things that are going to drive them crazy, because those are the 2 biggest things that they've worked on this year.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. And for me, I do want to see it run more, because one of the games they got away with, obviously the Super Bowl, they had light boxes to run against. I think this is kind of a test, honestly. If everything that Patrick said, and I do think it is on Patrick, I don't know that it's a lack of play calls or a lack of options in the RPO in terms of being able to run when you want. It's about pulling the trigger on the run. And for me, Patrick's talked about making that change and being able to recognize and just hand the ball off more often. For me, this is a test for him, because I think he's going to have more opportunity to run the ball in this game.
Yeah, I think so too. And you're right. I mean, this is a game that in particular, I think it's important from him from a standpoint of just protecting himself. I mean, the Browns hit him pretty hard last year, and we saw that. I mean, and it was to the effect that, I think it hurt him after that game as well. That game left some marks. So part of that is certainly going to be Mahomes protecting himself. And one way that he can protect himself is to rely on the ground game, to rely on Clyde Edwards-Helaire to get some of those tough yards and limit some of the hits on himself. I mean, you're going to take the hits as it is as a quarterback when you drop back to pass, but it's on some of the RPOs that, have left him vulnerable at times in the past. And that's where he's got to get better and smarter. And, you know, and we are nitpicking when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and getting smarter and making better decisions. But that's one thing, I mean, that he has now said for a while that he really wants to get better at is committing more to the run, especially in the RPO game.
If there's one guy in Cleveland that is the key to them being able to compete with the Chiefs as a team, I don't care offense or defense, who is it to you?
I mean, to me, I think it's Odell Beckham Jr. because this is the guy that hasn't been able to stay healthy. And, you know, and honestly, we don't know what he is at this point in his career. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen him at 100%. And, you know, I mean, is he the guy that we all still think that he is? I mean, I think that we have Odell Beckham Jr. in our minds as this just guy who can do it all. But it's been a while since he's done that just because of the health issues. So, to me, I mean, he's the guy that I think is the single biggest difference between the Chiefs and the Browns. The Browns are a good team. You know, they've got a solid defense. They've got a good quarterback. I mean, Baker Mayfield still needs to take that next step, and he's got some good weapons around him. But just like the Chiefs, I mean, you know, without a Travis Kelce, without a Tyreek Hill, you can't go to the next level. OBJ is that guy for them. Yeah. And if he can be that weapon consistently throughout every game of the season, they're going to be a different team. So to me, that's the biggest difference. I mean, a healthy OBJ could be what the Browns need to put him over the top.
That's what I'm thinking too. And more importantly, the connection between Mayfield and OBJ, because I don't think because of the injuries that's been able to form. The fact we didn't see much in the preseason from the Cleveland Browns makes me think that there's probably a rust factor for them more than there is for the Chiefs defense. But in particular, I have to think that they're not going to put OBJ in the slot where I know he's made some of his more successful big plays from, because they're going to find L'Jarius Sneed there. They're not going to find him out on the outside in 11s. So if you're putting 3 wide receivers out there, he's going to be out there. My guess is against Ward. I'm guessing he's pretty comfortable against Hughes as well. Matt, thanks for all the time. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thanks, Ryan. Take care.
Thanks to Matt for making an appearance on the Game Plan. We'll try to recreate that. I want to make sure that you guys know, for all of you, like, sub, and hit that bell notification now. If you're not already, you consider the memberships as well. There's always extra content over Discord for us. It's a members-only thing. And we have the live streams. You can see them up here on Mondays and Thursdays. Those are live at 6 p.m. Central, so don't miss those. Now comes the fun part. You want to go first or you want to go last?
Oh, you let me go first last time. You can go ahead and give your predictions.
Okay. I think steam has been building. I think all the anger that happened on the offensive line in that last ball game that they played is still ready to explode. I think that this offensive line is ready to make a point. And if I know Patrick, he's still pissed off. So I don't see any way that defense, despite them having a very good front, and I think they're going to make a couple of splash plays. I think they're going to let somebody through. Patrick will get sacked at least once is my guess. And I think somebody in the secondary might have the ability to make a play. Maybe that new safety there is John Johnson. At the end of the day, I don't think they slow him down. I think it's 35 points for the Chiefs. And as it comes down, I think that run game is the most dangerous, but I'm not sold on them getting the passing game going, especially with L'Jarius on the field. The question that we have as we record this about Tyron makes me a little bit nervous. So I'm going to say that they do pretty well. I'm going to call it 28-35 Chiefs.
That's kind of, like I said, without Matthew, it's hard to gauge because he does everything for that secondary, lines everybody up, and he gets you in those positions, and he can help take away some of those play action passes. So for me, I am just going to assume that he's going to play. I know that we don't know as of now if he will or not, but I will just assume that he is going to. This is right now, we're recording on Wednesday, and there's been a tweet floating around about how the Browns and Kevin Stefanski specifically has now caught up to Andy Reid and is a better offensive minded coach than Andy.
How many
Reid.
playoff wins did they have?
They got beat by Chad Henne last year. So I mean, and they steamrolled the Bills. So I don't know what it is about that. But so yeah, that was a fun conversation. You guys are on Twitter, saw that today. But I am willing to bet that Andy Reid, someone's caught sniff of this because there's a ton of guys, Jeff Schwartz, Brett Coleman, all got whiff of this tweet. It's been floating around. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Andy pull out some things that the Browns aren't even close to prepared for, which he always does in the first week anyway, because that's what Andy Reid does. So I have this as more of a 41 I think they're going to put up 40+ points like they'd like to do. And I think this is not only a statement game starting off against one of the AFC challengers. I think that they will be, but right now you don't really know. That defense is still very young. And with Matthew playing and Anthony Hitchens, I think he's going to have a great game. I think he's going to be all over the place. I think that they're going to blow him out. Like, it's going to be 41-24. Just
wow. Okay.
blow the doors off them.
Well, here's to you being right. I certainly hope that is true. Folks, with those said, we're going to get you to what is interesting. Our friend Chris Vasser, Coach Vass, all over YouTube. I'll put links down in the description and everything. You guys have seen him. We all watch him to learn more. All of us, all around Chiefs Kingdom, every film analyst including all the guys that have been on this show, we all watch him for that reason. We got him to sat down with us. It's a hoot, first and foremost. It's going to be in two parts. Part of it's going to be here, and part of it I have to put behind the member wall. So you guys will see the second part of that Friday afternoon as well. For you members, you got to be at the rookie level or above, so you can go watch Vaz over there, and you'll hear some not for kids language there.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
But what he was able to do for us was take a look at the playoff run from last year, give us his thoughts, particularly about the defense and what has to evolve and that kind of thing. This is Chris Vasser. Make sure you check it out at CoachVass.com. Welcome back, folks. This is RGR Football, and we have a treat for you, especially if you know anything about how this game is played. You've looked at this man's site. Coach Vass, how are you, Chris?
I'm doing much, much better. Thank you for having me on. I'm sorry that had something come up. We had to delay this.
It happens. Hey, I'm just lucky I'm here half the time. So,
right.
Folks, if you want, make sure you check out CoachVass.com. That's where you can find everything, and at Coach Vass over on Twitter. That's the easiest way, and we're going to give you guys a crash course from the man himself, because there's a lot of misconceptions, and I want to start off easy. I know Dan's got specific questions, but could you just lay it out baseline for people who don't understand how you define defense, scheme versus rules?
So that's a good question. So the scheme, to me, a scheme is what you're playing. And it's such a loose term. It could be a coverage, it could be a front. It's the plan of what you're what you're going to do, right? And then the rules are the rules that live within the scheme. So some are very easy. And the old school way to do it, and everybody had a different abbreviation. Some people call it Casker, or if you go on any playbook before 1985, you'll see it, and it's call, assign, or alignment, stance, I'm getting them all out of order, even though it's in order. But the K always gets me. The cat, I'm like, what's the K? But it's basically responsibility, run to, run away, pass. So some of it's easy. Like the Chiefs play a lot of cover one. So it's, your scheme, the scheme is over one. I guess you could call it, that's the call, whatever. Some people define scheme as the type of defense you run, which I think is moot today. People talk about 3-4 and 4-3. And somebody sent me a picture of the Patriots with Judon standing up. And I'm like, that's an overfront. And one of the guys is just standing up. He's like, do you know why that is? I'm like, I think it's because he feels more comfortable standing up. And then the other guy feels more comfortable, which is a lot of it is that's especially that level. What do you want to do? I interviewed Nick Rapone, which was supposed to come out. He was the defensive backs coach for the Bucks, but then had this little thing called COVID come up, and I'll release it in January. But we talked about when he coached at the Cardinals, he had Peterson and some other slap. I don't know. I feel bad. He was a good player. I shouldn't say that. Those are my words, not Nick's. But Peterson always wanted to play press. The other guy always wanted to play off. And when you're at that level, you're shaping a guy. You're not, especially when you have an all-pro who might be one of the best players in the last 20 years to play press. He's got to be in the top 5. Or since the rule changes, since Bill Polian got his dirty hands on football. I think he's got to be top 5. So what are you going to tell that guy?
Yeah.
No, you have to play off. That's how you get your ass fired in this league. So a lot of it is comfort. So some people say 3-4, 4-3 is a scheme. I think that stuff's overblown. Everybody's playing the same stuff. on 11 personnel mix downs. Now, what you want to do on third down is different. Do you want to play out of odd like the Patriots and the Dolphins, or do you want to play out of even, which is a lot of what the Chiefs do? So that's the scheme. But the rules are every call has you have the call. It's where you're going to stand, what you're going to look at, and what are you going to do. So, like in man, the Chiefs, they play a lot of outside leverage in the slots. My eyes are on the hip or the belt buckle, whatever they say. And then I got that dude everywhere he goes. And then I haven't seen him do this a lot, but some people if the guy runs a crosser, he'll let him go, and then he becomes the whole player and all that stuff. That are the rules on how you play it. Now, there are rules there are overarching rules that kind of what's the best word? I'm struggling here. Like oversee how the scheme works. So, for example, if you're a 4-3 team, most teams in football, if you get like a down block, you spill it. Or like the Patriots, if you're playing an old school defense, everybody used to box it, meaning turn it back inside. Those sometimes you can say rules like where you fit and everything, but that's very loosely used rather.
So for an average fan that's watching that, or somebody who's trying to learn this game, it seems to me like the way that the rules are set up, especially when you're talking about secondary work, match schemes, those kind of things, where it is the rules about how you engage with X receiver out of X spot and what your area of responsibility is, right?
Yeah, I mean that's basically what you're trying to do. And the Chiefs, from when I watched their playoff run last year, to prepare for this, and they played a lot of straight up man, and then they played a lot of spot dropping zone, and then they played a little match. And I know, and if you want me to hold this, we can, but I know that somebody had said they wanted to talk about match coverage. There's a lot of misconceptions about that, what that means, how that works, and I can get into that if you'd like, and kind of
overlaps, awesome. Right?
Yeah. Do you want me to do that now?
Sure. Why not?
Sure.
All right. So the biggest misconception I think in football is you have three types of coverages. Well, I think the bigger misconception is there's man and zone. If you want to look at it, yes, there's man coverage and zone coverage. But once you get inside of that, there's straight man coverage, there's man match coverage, then there's zone coverage and zone match coverage. People say match coverage, but you can play man match or you can play zone match. Now, I have done 3-hour podcasts on how to do this and how to teach all these variations. The simplest explanation that I can make and still explain what the hell is going on is this. And there's a lot more to it than that. So I know that people that are dig deep in the weeds of schemes are like, this guy's an asshole. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Sorry, can I say asshole?
Hey, you can do what you want, man.
Okay. I don't want to be any fined or whatever. Or bleeped out or whatever. What am I on? Like on K-Rock or something? Fine.
Yeah, right. Hey.
So zone coverage is, I'll start with zone. I'll work to a straight man. Zone is I drop to a spot, I look at the quarterback, and I'll read his intentions. And then the good ones, my mentor used to say you have A to C learners, you have A to Z learners. You could tell them everything. Then you have A to C learners, so ABC. Give them a few things, and then you have the A learners. It's literally like they can't handle much. And maybe it's not even that they're dumb or whatever, but Spags is a pretty complicated scheme. So, and you can see there's a lot of confusion. And it's not just like it's one guy. And I think it's because, and then we can also get in that later if you want, but I think he tries to check stuff. When they check, he tries to check, and then there's a lot of formation stuff. So you'll see a lot of guys running around. When there's more than one running around, I've coached high school football at crap levels, and I've worked at colleges at high levels. It happens everywhere. The biggest thing about pro football that I didn't understand was I didn't realize how many times guys made mistakes. I thought it was like Madden, like everybody was just perfect every time. Or if you sucked, you got your ass kicked. But the amount of times guys send me questions, what's this? I'm like, I've been doing this for 15 years. I can't tell you. I have no idea. Anyway, so zone coverage is I'm looking at the quarterback, and if I'm an A to Z guy, if I got some shit to me and I got a feel for the game, I can peek for receivers, kind of move in and out, move towards guys. But my eyes are primarily on the quarterback. Okay. Then you have, I'm actually going to go back to man coverage. So straight man coverage is, I got this dude no matter what. So you might be saying, okay, what are some examples of that? Straight zone, great examples, Tampa 2. And not exactly how the Chiefs play it, but you'll have the Mike or whoever runs through the middle. Now the Chiefs do a lot with like the honey badger. Does he still call that?
Yeah,
sure.
He will. I'm like, when I wrote my notes, I was writing HB for honey badger. Like he's the Tampa player a lot. They'll kind of match number 3 going down the pipe, but most everybody else is looking at the quarterback, kind of feeling their man. We used to say, see the quarterback, feel your man out of your peripheral vision. The straight man cover is like you're bringing 5, you're playing 5, and you're playing cover 1. So you got no help except for the middle of the field. Now the Chiefs struggle with this sometimes because they do a lot of actually, I'll hold that for the man match stuff, because when they're bringing 5, they're actually pretty good at it. It's when they bring 4 and they bluff that they struggle, and I can get to that in a second. So
makes
anyway.
sense. Coach, I appreciate the time.
Awesome.
You guys got to go to CoachVass.com. You got to listen to the podcast. You got to watch the YouTube, because I enjoy that myself. It's at Coach Vass on Twitter as well. Chris, appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys. Sorry if I rambled too much.
You rock. We'll have you back,
awesome.
and we'll go through more. And so our big thanks from Coach Vass for being with us. We'll hope to turn that into something a little more familiar. You guys will see him again. And again, you members, hit the rookies. If you're rookie level or above, you can go into the members right now, and I will have that up for you so that you can go watch the more drastic part of that video.
It's colorful. We'll just say that.
Yeah, I like that. That was a lot of fun. So at the end of the day, we've given you our predictions. Dan, in general, you're feeling pretty good about this, right?
I am. I think that there are some things that the Browns can do up front. I think that Malik McDowell is going to be someone that can unlock kind of a NASCAR package look for their front. It's gonna allow Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett to line up a lot in the same positions, like next to each other, like Chris Jones and Frank Clark do. You can also blitz JOK off of that. So they're going to have some interesting looks for the offensive line. At the end of the day, I think Creed Humphrey is going to be a huge key in keeping Patrick Mahomes healthy and on his feet this game, because I think he's one of the most prepared centers already. He just seems to understand things at a much higher level. So he's not only like a huge focal point for this offense to succeed, he's going to keep Patrick Mahomes clean. As much as Orlando Brown Jr. wants to do that, he has to really kind of trust that this center calling out these blitzes and seeing everything is going to be able to do that. And I think he can do it. This is a huge game for him and all of the young players on that offensive line to make a statement and to get in a groove. It's going to be so much fun to watch.
Okay. Parting thoughts. I want to give you two guys. Let's do this. One guy on each team that could be, win, lose, or draw, the player of the game for that team. For me, it's going to come down to, I think it's going to be Mahomes at the end of the day. It is what it is. But for the Cleveland Browns, I think there's, as much as I love Nick Chubb, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to corral him enough. So for me, the guy that's scary that could go off is OBJ. And that's who I think could be the players of the game. What do you got?
So you guys heard me talking Anthony Hitchens up. I think he's going to be the defensive player of the game in this game. And if he is, nice. That's huge for them, because that tells you where he's been all over the field. And for the Browns, I think it could actually be Kareem Hunt. And because I do expect them to try to shut down that run game, and that will isolate Kareem Hunt on some linebackers, specifically maybe a Ben Neiman. I think he can do some damage in that. If it turns into a throw the ball a lot all over the yard and you see Kareem Hunt out running routes against Ben Neiman, I think that's definitely a possibility that he could have some success there.
That sounds like it could possibly be, folks. That's what we have in your comments below. Make sure you tell us what you think this score is going to be, who's going to win this, and who do you think could be that player of the game. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell notification if you're not already. And you members, go check out that other video. Dan, thanks for taking the time today and getting us ready.
Oh, yeah, you guys, it's 2 days. Let's go. It's all right. It's here now. Let's get ready. I'm so excited.
All right, Chiefs Kingdom, enjoy yourselves. We'll talk to you post-game live. See you there.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more.